Most FIFA fans associate English football with either the big names and the money of the Premier League or the gritty hard work of a League Two road to glory, but the Championship has so much more to offer that often goes under the radar. From historic massive teams to dramatic finishes to talented young players and exciting storylines, the Championship really does have it all. If you're a fan of a Championship side, let everyone know in the comments why your team is special and the most fun in the league, but today we're going to be answering 3 different questions. Why is the Championship better than the Premier League for career mode saves? What are the best storylines to try and recreate with a Championship team? And finally, how can you have fun in a save playing in England's second tier? So, what exactly makes the second division better than the first? Well, firstly, the Championship is full of talented young players who are still very early in their careers, but can also instantly start for your team. Whether it's a promising young midfielder at Bristol City like Alex Scott, a promising young centre-back at Burnley, almost every single team in the league has at least one player who could become world-class. As so many players in the league have over 80 potential, you can build your first season team around them, and they'll only improve every single year. This isn't something you can get from any other league in England. The Premier League is too good for young players to immediately start, and League 2 and 1 simply don't have the right players with the right potential to improve as you keep getting promoted. As long as a player is above 65 overall, they'll perform well enough to improve in the Championship, and if they have high physical stats, they can even dominate games. Players like Brennan Johnson are exactly what I mean here. He might have only been 68 rated on last year's game, but using him was one of the most fun parts of my FIFA 22 Championship save, despite him not really being the best player. If you have a favourite Premier League team, you can also still use some of their young players in the Championship. With so many teams in the Championship relying on loans, let's say you're a Manchester City fan, you're probably never going to use Rico Lewis or Cole Palmer in your first team on a real career mode save, but you can get them to use as a key part of a save with a team like Stoke, alongside Liam Delap, which is a new experience of using players you might be excited about. This works with any team in the world as well. Even teams like Barcelona have loaned players into the Championship, so don't restrict yourself to just English loans. While you're developing your young players, the league is also home to some of England's most historically successful teams. Preston were probably the world's best side in the late 1800s, Huddersfield dominated the 1920s, and Blackburn won the Premier League in 1995. Every team in the league has at least one bit of success you can try to recreate, even if it's only a League Cup or an FA Cup win back in the 1900s. It's this combination of young, exciting players at old historic clubs that makes the league special. Is Troy Parrott going to be the next Tom Finney for Preston? Is Brereton Diaz Blackburn's new Alan Shearer? And can Joe Bellingham be as good as his brother Jude Bellingham? These storylines give you a reason to continue your careers in a long-term way. If you're anything like me, you'll probably have a bunch of saves that you've played a few games in and then got bored of. Having a goal like this really does help you enjoy your save, and you can keep it going for multiple seasons. The most underrated part of the league, in my opinion, is its competitiveness. Fans of Championship teams repeat that any team can win at any season, and that's a spot-on view of the league, and it's even the case on FIFA. Take last season, for example. After 7 games, Nottingham Forest had 1 point. They went on to only lose 8 of their next 41 games and won the playoffs. There's no reason you can't pick a team like Blackpool, strengthen with 2 or 3 players, and then go on a playoff run. It could easily happen in real life, so basically no team doing anything is unrealistic in the Championship. So, why does the Championship deserve more attention? That's exactly what the title says. Because it's a league that has it all. It's got passionate fans, it's got competitive matches, talented players, and exciting storylines. It's a league that shouldn't be overlooked, and I think deserves a bit more attention from football fans all around the world. If you've got this far, you're probably interested in playing a save in this league. So, who exactly should you be using, and how can you keep it more fun? In my opinion, the most fun way of playing FIFA is by restricting myself with real rules. For this, I try and keep FIFA player ratings under 77 while I'm in the Championship, and sign mostly British and Irish players. I think Hull and Birmingham rebuilds with their foreign owners would be fun short-term saves, while trying to bring Huddersfield or Preston back to the top are better long-term saves. Building up your team is the most fun part of the league, and moving from mid-table to playoff contenders, building up slowly, can be super enjoyable in the Championship. Make sure you're enjoying using the players on your team, because you've got fairly low ratings in the Championship, so you can always find a player that's a similar rating somewhere else. You might find a player that plays a little bit more interestingly to you in the Eredivisie or Scandinavia or the MLS, and once you've finally built your team how you like it, you get to experience the best league in the world, which of course is the Premier League. With 20 real stadiums, every player being scanned and everything fully licensed, on FIFA it's actually a really good reward to play your final few seasons in the Premier League, so you get to experience all of that with a team of players that you actually really enjoy using. Some of the more interesting teams in the league include Middlesbrough, who are actually one of the founding members of the Premier League, but were relegated from the Premier League in 2017. Because they've been recently relegated, they do have an in-game stadium and they do have some quite high potential young defenders. There is definitely a rebuild needed on T-side, and maybe Middlesbrough could be the right save for you. Preston are another team I've mentioned a bunch of times in this video already, but they were founding members of the English game back in 1888. They've been out the Premier League for like 55 years now, but they were back-to-back champions in the first 2 seasons of the league, so why not see if you can get them up to the Premier League and win back-to-back Premier League titles. Blackburn are the most recent Premier League champions not to be playing in the Premier League. They won the title in '95 as we said earlier, but their fierce rivals Burnley have actually had more success over recent times. Can you lead Brereton Diaz, re-sign his contract and see if you can get him back to the Premier League and make Blackburn the biggest team in Lancashire once again? Huddersfield Town are another team that got relegated recently. The Yorkshire team have seen their biggest rivals Leeds get promoted and enjoying some time in the Premier League, while Huddersfield are struggling towards the bottom of the table. They got to the playoff final last season and it was only an own goal that stopped them returning to the Premier League too. So with a rebuild needed and a fairly old team, why don't you see if you can get Huddersfield back into the Premier League? Birmingham is the second biggest city in the UK and is bigger than Amsterdam, Copenhagen and Las Vegas. Yet despite this, only Aston Villa and Wolverhampton Wanderers are from Birmingham and in the Premier League. Both West Brom and Birmingham are currently in the Championship, so why not see if you can get one of England's second biggest city clubs back into the top flight. Finally, the other 2 big teams that I think you should seriously consider for any Championship career mode are both in Wales. Swansea and Cardiff are of course massive rivals, and I think the Wales derby is probably the biggest derby match that's in the Championship at the moment. Compared to a few years ago, there is actually now a scoutable region of Wales in the game as of I think FIFA 21. So with both teams having very similar level squads, both teams having their grounds in the game, and both playing in Wales, it's up to you which one you pick and try and bring them back to the Premier League. Both of them have been up to the top flight recently, but there has never been a non-English winner of the Premier League. So why don't you see if you can get Wales to win the Premier League, and see if you can also do a club and country where maybe you strengthen the Wales national team, get players like Brennan Johnson to develop to their max potential, get Aaron Ramsey to have one last performance in the World Cup, and see if maybe you can win an international trophy with Wales with a squad made up of teams and players from both Swansea and Cardiff. So in short, if you're a fan of FIFA and you haven't given the EFL Championship a go, I highly recommend you give it a go as soon as possible. I can promise you won't be disappointed, and thank you for watching. Let me know how your saves go in the comments on Discord or on Twitter. Thank you, I'll see you soon, cheers and goodbye.